Yesterday, I got 3rd place at the OTS Championship here in Belgium, which already qualified me for the next European Championship and also gave me 2 points in the Worlds playoff. Let's check out my list. As always, if you still need a beautiful playmat, go to zerodamagegaming.com and use code SOLEM for a discount. There's also beautiful deck boxes. So for the list, honestly, there's a few things that I'm going to be changing afterward. I think certain choices I made in my previous profile were actually better than the list I ended up taking, and it ended up costing me the one game I lost. The one game I lost was against Dinos of all decks, but more on that later. So I'm playing the triple Pearl Rhino, of course the most broken field spell, you always want to open this, 1 Terraforming, and then we're still on triple Foolish Burial Goods and 1 Terrific Harmount. I've seen some people in the comments and on Facebook comments and so forth go like, oh, you need 2 goods because you don't want to brick, blah blah. It's like, if this deck doesn't have Pearl-Rhino, it kinda sucks. Like, Pearl-Rhino is not only an interrupt, it is also a board breaker, and also in the current format, a lot of decks are generating interruption in multiple spots. So like in spells and traps. And being able to just pop those off gradually and then start playing so you don't get like locked out by weird stuff is really important. Labyrinth is a really big deck. Dragon Link is a really big deck. You also have Runic, though they can sometimes already have cleared their extra monster zone and then they can like summon a Hugin, but still that's a waste. Now they have to waste a Runic spell just to summon that. So just always having access to Pearl-Rhino is super crucial. That's why I'm still on 3 goods. And more importantly, if you already opened this can still send whatever you're missing. I'm playing Solic, I'm playing Meta Noise, I'm playing Scream. This is copies of every other card in my deck. So this has to be a 3-off at all times. Next, I'm playing triple Rhino Heart. Once again, I think this is super crucial. Rhino Heart is not only a great way to just get play started if you already have King of the Swamp, but sometimes I will even use this just to send a tier cache, mill 2, and that might get me into place, or more importantly, get a tier card in my graveyard so I can then banish it with the tier cache in my hand. That comes up a lot, especially because this list is also playing some Fenrir, so you more often have the tier cache in your hand already. It being a great mill is so underrated. Like, we already don't have that many great monster mills anymore, duh, because they're all at 1. So now having something that's kind of like a proxy for that is so important. So in my opinion, 3 is absolutely crucial. The only time I would recommend going like below this is if tier is like an engine inside a bigger deck. Maybe you're playing like tier Sprite or tier Cash or something like that, sure. But if your primary plays are tier cards, I think triple Rhino is super important. Then we have the triple tier cache, a great mill, a great draw, a great everything. I mean, this is just important. Even if you're drawing multiples, this is still super awesome to keep in your hand, because if your opponent Dark Rulers you, but you still have like Solic or Scream, then being able to special this after the Dark Ruler, still mill some more, maybe rebuild a new board, super good. So even in multiples, drawing this is just super amazing. Then we got 1 of each name. Again, we don't want to play more than these because otherwise your opponent doesn't stand a chance at all and they get really angry. Then we're playing triple Scream because I really always want to have this on my board. It's also a really good mill to have all of the trap access. And again, since we now don't have that many like tier names anymore, we will have to mill more than before to get as far as we did back in the day. So I think this is really important. Also an added level of interruption. And also this is really solid to like chain block with. Then we got 2 Solic because it is the best trap. And then we have 1 Meta Noise because it's still pretty solid. There's actually a lot of decks these days where if you take away their normal summon, they kind of start crumbling. I mean, against Cash this is insane, but I think at least with your non-engine, you shouldn't respect Cash too much because you're always losing that anyway. Unless you go first and they never open Shifter, in which case, you know, your non-engine didn't matter anyway. But so this is just super generically insane. Also really good to mill. Sometimes just getting like a tier cache back to my hand as follow-up and so forth. And again, if you already have Solic in your hand, being able to then scream into a second trap is really nice as well. Because Dark Ruler is in the format, a lot of people are going to be trying to, you know, turn off your board, and being able to just have so many interrupts still with these and Pearl-Rhino and the shufflers and maybe a tier cache and so forth is super worth it. Then I have 1 Kelbeck, 1 Agido, and the 2 shufflers. These are crucial. I saw people talk about like, oh, we can cut the shufflers because they're bad draws and bad mills, but like these cards are broken. Almost every good deck right now crumbles under these, except for Cash. Like Cash is the only thing, and even then you can sometimes, you know, ruin their birth, but still that's not that relevant. But any other deck, you just Mudora Keldo them and they just start crying. So you should be playing these, definitely. It's also just another form of interruption, once again, that's not on the board. You're gonna see that a lot actually this format. I feel everyone's on board breakers, so the less board you actually have, the better. So these are amazing. I would play 4 of these if I could. Then we have 2 Fenrir. I was trying this out. This format, there aren't as many Stratos effects. So like previously we had like like super heavy and pearly, and so you had a lot of Stratos-like effects where the rescue aces were always live. But right now, that's not so much the case anymore, and so now I'm trying the Fenrir. These are cool. This is like something I would still keep in this list. There's another non-engine slot, let's say, that I wouldn't keep though. Then we have one Jet Synchron. I was trying this out because it can make a Dragite. Basically, so many people are playing like triple tactics talents and evenlies and so forth, and was like, cool, maybe like an Omni negate or well-spell trap negate can be useful for those. I lost one too many games to Labyrinth evenly matching me. Sure, you can like Redoer to play around it, and sometimes like a Grapha and so forth, but it just didn't feel quite as nice. Also, all these runic decks on evenly. I don't even think evenly is that great right now, but just not even feeling like the card exists is nice. Though I will say I only made a Dragite once that day, and this card was like a brick more often than it was a Dragite folder, basically. So I'm not really sure about the card. But that was at least the theory, like not getting blown out by evenly ever. Then we have one Foolish Burial, because you can send Agido or Kelbeck, which is crazy. Played one of each Shadol. I really missed the other, honestly. In my previous profile, again, I was playing 2 Squamata. I think I want to do that again. So Squamata Beast, just to make Winda, and also as a really solid mill. Squamata is also great to chain block. If you're doing a Squamata plus Agido, for example, you can put a Squamata as chainlink 2 while Agido is 1, and then afterwards, the Beast will be in the next chain, so whatever Agido mills is also still protected. So that's why like 2 Squamata is insane. Even then, I don't know, I was really missing another one personally. Previous profile felt a little tighter. Then we had Poly, Triple King of the Swamp, because well, it's your one way to start fusing. Usually you want to keep the Winda summon for last for obvious reasons, because you don't want to like pass turn on a Winda alone. And then the only bad slot I think in my deck, Super Polymerization. So I was thinking, oh, this is going to be great into Dragon Link, this is going to be great into Branded, this is going to be great into Lab, blah, blah, blah. But the big issue is that going first, like you set this and have no hand, like almost always. I love putting almost my entire hand into my board with Tear, and if your other card in hand is like Tear Cash, you don't want to discard that for Super Poly. And if you want to have a Grapha on board to be safe from like triple tactics talents and evenly and so forth, then you also don't have a discard for Super Poly. And if you already had to actually put your entire hand into board, so you don't even have a discard for Grapha and you don't have a Tear Cash follow-up, then Super Poly is also dead. So going first, this card is already dog shit. You have to have sacked so hard for this to still be live after making a giant board or like being hand trapped once or twice, that it is like bad. And then going second, there's not that many decks that you're truly hitting with this that you couldn't be hitting with other cards. Meanwhile, this is gonna still be dead sometimes, and that just felt so bad. I think I resolved this card once and it didn't win me the game. Honestly, my loss would have been a win had this been anything else. So yeah, I don't know. I was trying this out and it just sucked. Then for the extra, I'm playing, of course, the Rulkalos, the Rhino Heart, the one Winda this time. I was really missing my second. I don't know why you would ever want to play one. That just feels so bad, because the first one is easy to out. The second one is impossible to out afterwards, but there was no second one this time. So yeah, this should probably be a 2 of again. Dragos Tepelia, Grapha, Guardian Chimera. Guardian Chimera is insane. What an awesome card. Also, this is collector rare, but it's too bad that collector rarity sucks, so you can't actually see it. Then we have Mud Dragon and Garura for the Super Poly targets. Sometimes when you're down bad, like really down bad, you still have to make these with your tier names, because you were like activating the tier name just in case your Agido or Kelbeck mill something in the same chain. But beyond that, I don't know. If you're cutting Super Poly, you can probably cut these. That's the fusions. I try to not play too many fusions, because I really like the fact that tier is like a branded that doesn't scoop to a D barrier and doesn't scoop to like Super Ancient Organism and all these other cards. So Dragite, because of the Jet Synchron. Redoer, because it's super crucial. Your board is almost always going to have a Sharon and another level 4, because the Sharon you get from Perlerino, and you have 7 Perlerinos in the deck. So this is almost always going to be on your board, and then it generates another fusion. It also plays around Dark Ruler very well, because you can have like a Redoer and a Sulik. When they Dark Ruler activate Sulik, but not use effect, and then chain Redoer to that, and then that dodges the whole thing. So it's pretty cool. And then I have a bunch of links, because I really like the fact, again, I'm not scooping to weird floodgates, because I have access to links. So like Bagushka, don't care. Super Ancient Organism, don't care. Dimensional Barrier, don't care. All these cards don't matter because you're still playing a link package. So we have a 1 dark. This is like the most generically useful thing. We have 1 sprint. This forces fusions out. Being able to go like dark, steal something from your opponent, maybe get value it, maybe not, but then turn it into a sprint and make another fusion is like really solid. Then we have Azalea, incredible card. This deck has enough darks to make this live, especially because dark can usually like grab a dark and then it's also live. And then being able to out like random shit is just so good. You can also link climb with this because if you have enough spells engrave, which is all always. It stays on the board, and then it's also like multiple interruptions. So this card, honestly, it's like one of the best staples. You saw my short in my podcast with Jay Quincy. We mentioned this might be the best extra deck monster made this year that's like generic. Access Code Talker, because it's, again, like you get locked, it doesn't really matter. Also very easy ways to turn small little bodies into OTKs and so forth, and again, easy to make with Dark. And then finally, Underworld Goddess, because there's like random crap that you really want to out. Pearly is also like a really solid deck, very scary, and if you don't draw an out, this deck can actually still out a Noir and the rest of the board very easily. You can gradually pick apart all the backline, like the My Friend and the Street with the Perlerinos and all these cards, and then as you're breaking through the board, now you Underworld Goddess the Noir, and it doesn't even matter, and then you can probably still OTK. Like, this deck has so much gas that in engine you can probably beat Pearly almost always. So yeah, Underworld Goddess in for that. Then for the side deck, we have a triple Bestial Magnamut. This is for against Dragon Link, just randomly stopping them from reviving stuff or like making their own Bestial can often already like nuke them. Also against Branded, it's really good. Also against other random crap like Dark World. Okay against Labyrinth, though I wouldn't feel that great about it. And also the fact that it turns Azalea into 4 interrupts is just disgusting. This package should probably be in almost any deck as long as like the meta calls for darks. And I hate saying that because I hope people don't do this against Tyr, but basically being able to go like interrupt you with a Magnamut, then Magnamut is going to add something at the end phase, get a Druis Worm, interrupt you with a Druis Worm. All right, we make Azalea, Druis Worm sends something, and Azalea destroys something. That's 4 interrupts just from this package. That's absolutely insane. So as long as the meta has like enough darks to make this a good side package, really insane. So this destroys Evil Twin Runic, this destroys Dragon Link, this destroys Branded, this is okay against Lab. It also is really solid against Drytron if you end up facing that. Lots of decks don't like seeing Bestials. Bestials are solid. I was playing 2 Gamma Seal. It's not like I wanted to play 2. I would have liked to play 3, but it's just that I didn't have room for more, and it wasn't that important of a card. Some people talk about it being Aqua, but honestly, like, you're really down bad if you're that starved for Aquas that you have to use like Kaijus for it. So yeah, 2 Kaiju and then triple Book of Moon. So these were my 5 Arise Heart outs. If I don't draw it, too bad. I lose. It doesn't matter. This deck, again, I'm not gonna respect Kash with this deck because 1 in 3 games, I'm already auto-losing on the shifter. So it makes no sense that I'm gonna make my engine weaker by playing outs against a deck that I'm not gonna beat reliably anyway. So fuck it. 5 is enough. Anything more is just a waste. And then at least Book of Moon is like generically still solid. You can also still set it going first. Kaiju is also good against more than just Arise Heart. Like, there's random matchups. For example, my one loss, Dino, they had a Nat Beast, which was the only reason I couldn't play. The rest of the board is like free. But the Nat Beast, I couldn't out. Had my Super Poly been this, or a Dark Ruler, or a Kurikara, or anything to out a Nat Beast, I would have like broken the board like it's cheese. But so yeah, Gamma Steel being able to out stuff like that, just all the cheesy little things is really solid, which is something Kurikara can't always do, even though again Kurikara is an amazing card. Against Kash, you just take out your Super Polys, you put these in to set going first, and then going second you put in the Kaijus. If it's not enough, too bad, you were never winning that matchup anyway. Then we have Triple Droll. This was sussy. I didn't feel this card was that great. I played it because I'm like, okay, if for hire, you know, goes off, I might not be able to break that board in engine. Any other board is basically free. And like Dragon Link is scary to me, so I wanted to beat those decks because every other board like melts like cheese to Tyr. I unironically think if Kash is gone, Tyr is the best deck. Copium, right? I don't know. I just feel like this is the strongest engine in the game that then also doesn't care about any floodgate, that builds boards that aren't outable with anything in particular, that doesn't die to any particular hand trap except for Shifter. And if you're playing Bestials, you need to open 2. So I don't know. It just feels insanity as long as you don't get shifted. But yeah, so being able to just draw Dragon Link, being able to draw Runic for hire, cool. Those are the only decks that you might not be able to break in engine. And then Triple Cosmic, just generic back row hate. Also anti-spell can kind of hurt this deck. Pretty cool into the Pearly deck as well, because that way you can just out a My Friend and then everything else is pretty free anyway. Also cool to chain against Labyrinth. I like to have Cosmics in any deck I play these days. So that was the deck. Hope you found this interesting. Again, the main lesson should be, I think Super Poly was awful. Anything else was kind of fine. You know, I just think Super Poly is not the meta right now for it. Hope you found this interesting. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you soon. Ciao.